right, welcome back. It's been a long time since we have done a pod. Actually, looking at my notes, we haven't done a pod since the last draft review. So I'm sorry about that. It's been a busy summer. I had a 10-day period at one point where I worked 180 out of 240 possible hours in 10 days. So in any event, but here we are. It's a very special draft review pod because I am sitting right next to Eric Gardner, also known as Vikingmoe, in his house in Minnesota. How you doing, buddy?
Really good, yeah. It's a nice, really fun live podcast from the Twin Cities. Happy to have you here as my guest.
So I'm in Minnesota because I'm doing a thing this season where I'm going to go to every single Bills away game, and obviously that's not going to go very well. But they have the largest line. They're the largest underdog of any team in history, I believe, within the first 3 games at 16.5 points. At least that's what it was when I last looked against the Vikings. So
that's what it opened at. I know.
Yeah, the Bills are going to be bad. The Bills are bad, and maybe my Bills and this coming season are also going to be bad. I know.
Yes.
I know Eric's got a lot to talk about that, but we're going to try to keep this to no more than 2 hours, and we're also going to include predictions this time, since it just makes no sense to try to do that as a separate one. So we might not be as thorough as usual, but it's really us saying the same things over and over again about the players on people's specific teams, just depending on what team they're on. So we're going to try to do it a little quicker this time, but without further ado, let's get started here. So we're going to do this based off the preseason round, and I'm just going to start in the NFC West, and we're going to go with player. So player, he had a very good season in season 46. He's still in the playoffs, I believe, and I think he's in the NFC Championship game. So he finally, after coming back to HSTL, had a good season. So his pick was definitely later in the draft. So just kind of looking through his team, just highlighting some stuff. It looks like that. So I was talking to Eric about this before we went live, and we're not sure why he picked the Dolphins' offensive line instead of Minnesota's, simply because of the 50 MS kick returner. Granted, all he has is Otis Anderson, so maybe it doesn't make sense. But, literally, it looks like his whole offense is going to be Jensen and Edmonds, Collins, and Metcalf all at wide receiver, running back, tight end slots, with Otis Anderson as your running back. And then it's the 4K show. So, it's enough, I think, although he is, a 50 MS guy. It's not going to be, it's not like he's going to get a whole bunch of CCs with Jensen. So, it's okay, I think, just because he's got the Sean Collins pick in there paired with Dion. But that's it on offense. And then obviously we already talked about the defensive line. And on defense, he definitely has a big line. He's doing the jumbo package that everyone's been trying to do now for seasons. He's got my favorite, who I had for 2 seasons in a row, the Chicago DL. And he's got 2 69 HP guys. I believe Francis is 69 HP, and then as well as Mike Johnson. His whole linebacking crew is actually pretty above standard here. And he's got Deion Sanders to man, but he's got literally 3 or 4 guys he can man on his defense. And then he's got Sean Gale, and then Stargell and Gash are like, eh. So I think he's got enough to do some work and continue his nice run. What do you think?
I like the defense. Depends on what kind of offensive line matchups he gets, but you love the HP up there. It's really cool that he could make that work. Offense, though, looks a little painful. I think Collins does provide some speed, and obviously Otis out of the backfield, but it looks like it's going to be kind of tough to move the ball at times. It's not like you can just go back and chuck it either. So I don't know. You could debate the whole Dion with even the pairing with Collins versus taking a more top tier defensive guy like a Woodson or something else that was available. But I think it's a fine value pick. I think the offense, obviously more was used on defense here, so he'll need to rely on that.
Yep. So I think, I think we'll see what happens. So going out of here and going down to the Rams, which is Drake, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Drake. So Drake, I really thought during the draft that Drake was trolling Prime by taking Ken O'Brien ahead of him, but without he took Ken O'Brien, he's got what I thought should have been, besides Bo Jackson, the first, and maybe even instead of Bo Jackson, depending on how you feel, the first running back linebacker pick of Neil Anderson and Mike Singletary. I don't know why Game High took Thurman Thomas and Cornelius Bennett over Neil Anderson and Mike Singletary, and we can probably get to that when we go through Game High. But so he's got that, and then he's got Grady, which I know there was talks about people saying that he didn't need it because he had Ingram or whatever, but we'll kind of see on that. So his offense is pretty well rounded, to be honest. Like I'm pretty okay with it. And then on D, he's got Mike Singletary, and then he's got a fast drone in Washington he got with his Grady pick, who is stone hands. McKyer was a good value pick when he got him, and then is he just banning basically Washington or Singletary? I don't really see who else he's manning in this. Can you man Jackson? I don't even know.
He's borderline, I think.
Yeah, he's that's just the notch below you want to man.
Conditions between Washington and Jackson a little bit. Singletary sometimes is a nice super drone to have depending on the matchup he's got. The classic OG Ram style. It's all offense and just prey on defense that you can get a stop somehow. But I love the speed on offense, and maybe Grady was a luxury pick, but that's a lot of speed along with Ingram, and then of course Neil Anderson to contend with, and he's got a decent passing speed with Ken O'Brien too, that maybe he can get some bird routes. So offense should be fun. Defense will be interesting.
Sure. So it's basically going to be, can you get stops is the basic gist with Drake. Moving on to Nas. Nas has
a team.
Nas has a team that he can definitely win with. Sometimes he has teams that don't fit his style. This one seems to fit his style. He's got his 44-44 quarterback, 50 MS receiver. He's got his jumbo guy in Rathman. I think Tim Brown is enough for on when it comes to speed for a receiver. He's got Hassan Jones to hit the differential and speed on the other side. Obviously, Brett Jones in there for blocking and what have you. Or he might not even run Hassan Jones. He'll probably run Brett Jones opposite of Tim Brown, and probably run Rathman at tight end, and maybe even run Hassan Jones at running back 2 for that pass 2 that people like to do. And then going over to on D, Philly defensive line, you can man Reggie White. You got Charles Haley for linebackers, and it's the Joey Browner show. I'm curious to see if he puts Browner at DB2. I know that's his spot, or if he keeps him at safety. So that'll be interesting to see. Yeah. I'm not sure if he's done an alignment. I don't think he has, because these look stock. But so that's right. This team is a very good team. This clearly, in my opinion, makes him the team to beat in the division without even looking at Prime yet. But
he checks all the boxes, which a lot of teams struggle to do in this draft, right? He's got great balance on offense and on defense. You got a D lineman in White. You got Charles Haley at LB4. You got Joey Browner, a nice speed drone, and Terry McDaniel as well. He's kind of got everything he needs on defense. He got everything he needs on offense. So I like it. It's not overpowering offense, but it's something you can definitely a plus offense. So I like it.
Yeah, I definitely see potentially his other DBs getting picked on against high PC QBs of throwing away from Browner potentially. But other than that, I think that's being nitpicky here. But it's interesting to note that, though, because if you look at the draft tendencies of people, they're so quick to try to fill out their secondary because they don't want the crappy drones, if you actually watch the draft habits of people. Moving on to the last team, the Falcons, who finally, for the first time, as far back as I can remember, had a bad season. Had a higher pick than usual, and Prime, going against the Prime of old, started drafting studs. He took Richard Johnson, Dick, paired with Curtis Duncan, which is a great value pick where he got him.
That's a sick pick.
That was one of my favorite picks in this draft, because that was available. Mm-hmm. And then he also took Millard at some point in there. A couple of things to note. Not sure about the Gary Anderson pick when Christian Okoye was on the table.
Not sure.
Well, I'm just trying to be nice.
Well, okay, he nailed the first round pick, right? But then why Gary Anderson over Christian Okoye? I mean, I understand the difference in receptions, but it's Christian Okoye. I mean, much more impactful player, can make big time plays, right? So I don't really get that, especially when both the drones were comparably non factors. Why would you ever take Anderson over Okoye?
Plus, also something I would have done potentially is because he is young, he's probably going to scramble with him. I would have actually gotten a backup QB that it was Manable, not Grogan, because Young I just think is more apt to get hurt just because he's probably going to scramble more with him.
Sure.
But also, I'm not sure about the Eric Martin pick. I don't know if there was something else available when he took Martin, but it just seems superfluous, especially with Young only having 44 PC. So I don't really think it mattered. But kind of going on here. So on defense, he's got Blard and he's got Richard Johnson. That's kind of all you need. He actually has some decent drones in his secondary with Maxey, Everett, and Harper. Harper is a condition away from being manable. I think Everett too, potentially.
Yep.
And all you need is Millard and the linebackers and the DL, whatever. So good team for Prime, even with some questionable picks from our perspective. We definitely think he can contend. It's going to be interesting to see if the cream rises back to the top in this division. With Player having a good team and what he just did this past season, are the three of them going to just roll through, or what's going to happen here? Plus Drake has a good team. Everyone relatively has a good team in this division.
If you scroll back over the offense, the defense is good, right? But just imagine, so he misses out on Ken O'Brien by one pick, but he gets Steve Young. So it's either Ken O'Brien or Steve Young. That's all he ever takes a quarterback, right? But just look at that offense and just put in Christian Okoye in there too with Steve Young. To me, it just looks so much better. Just one more player better. But, we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it also depends if someone actually uses the hitting power or they just burn on the bounce anyway.
Sure.
So I will say, part of me, that this defense or this division looks really tough this season. So I'm curious to see what happens out there.
Should be a good one.
So my pick, I picked Nas to win the division.
Agree.
I'm going to go back to the well and say Prime gets the wild card. And then we'll decide the other wild cards later. But if there's one wild card of this division, if only one, I think it's Prime.
I would agree.
So just kind of back to what it used to be, static quo there. All right, going to the Central. Going to start with Rico. Rico, so sorry that we missed your team last season, man. And then we were going to hit it up on a prediction pod, which we never did. So here we are. Let's do it. So Rico inexplicably got a third overall pick again. Or second. I think he was second when he got Eagles or whatever he did. And has Joe Montana. So just picture this. In a 3-season span, Rico has had QB Eagles and Joe Montana. He's got Joe Montana. He has Keith Woodside, which kind of makes no sense to me unless he's going to use Mel Gray at wide receiver. Or I don't know what he's going to really do with all his running backs, but he's got Mel Gray, which is very superfluous in my opinion. I had Joe Montana one season. I had a 50 MS running back, and it wasn't even necessary. Your 44 MS running back, honestly, when you have Joe, can be so much better just because no one's going to pick run against you. And then he's got Page from KC, and that's pretty much it. Like, honestly, if I'm him, I'd consider, I don't even know what I consider doing here, just because you don't really need Page and Gray. But anyway, so then going over, I know we're skipping OLs just because, what's the point? And then on D, he's got he's got the 31 HP Ferguson turd sandwich, but he's got Jerry Ball at 69 HP, so that can make problems for some people. He's got Kofor at linebacker, he also can use a nickel, which, part of me, my guess is going to be the Kofor show, because who else does he have to man?
Right. He's got a lot of Detroit lines. I've seen the Ray Crockett's there too. Probably Kofor's going to get a lot of the. Yeah, I think all his guys. Yeah, Crockett is the only other person. He's a tick away. He's a tick away from man. So it's really the Kofor show. So makes me wonder what's going to happen when people run at Kofor. Right.
So at Rico's season, he's going to definitely – two things to watch with Rico this season, in my opinion. A, can he stop anybody? B, is he going to change his style of play once and for all now that he has Joe Montana?
Well, you got to if you got Joe.
I mean, if he does his whole QB scrambling thing that he does 12 times a game with Joe Montana, he's just wasting Joe Montana.
I would agree. The season I had Joe, I had 244 max speed running backs, which was plenty to get it done. And, like you said, I agree. I think Mel Gray's a luxury, which then obviously he lost out on some defense in turn. So, I mean, the offense will be fantastic, but I think that's just how it is. So, but it still looks like a good team with Joe Montana on it.
That's true. I'd agree with that. All right, so going back down to Detroit Casual. So I got to give Casual credit. He has a beast of a team this season. I really hope it works out for him in a sense of, just kind of getting out of the basement once and for all. He took Magic Man, which I thought might have been a reach at the time because I'm not sure how much he really helps instead of having a 44-44 guy when all the 44-44 guys went in the 7th round into the 8th round, I believe. So I'm not sure about that pick. But then he's got Marcus Allen, which is great speed there, and then Jerry Rice. I thought taking the New England offensive line instead, because of Marv Cook, instead of the better offensive lines there, was a reach. All you need is Jerry Rice. If you're throwing anyone besides Jerry Rice, what are you doing? So just my 2 cents there. And then on D, it's really well balanced. He's got Dennis Byrd and Ken Harvey. I believe Harvey is manable, but Byrd is like, if you're going to man someone, a linebacker, it's definitely Byrd. And then in the secondary, it's the Ronnie Lott show.
Right, pretty good draw with Bobby Humphrey there too. So, but yeah, I mean, you gotta love the offense. It's just really phenomenal with Rice and Allen, some great speed. So. And I think, obviously, Lott's got tons of speed.
Yeah, something to watch, too, though, on defense. People who have high PC QBs or even not too high, picking on Nesbitt Glasgow. He's only got 25 interception and also is the passing speed of 38, passing speed of Magic Man going to be a problem with Rice? And will Casual be able to get the timing down to make it work?
Yeah,
so
that'll be important.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. On the Green Bay, War Machine, the star mod of every draft. Thank you, buddy. This is really a war machine. He's really good at taking the value on the board. Not sure if getting stuck with the TB offensive line was worth it. We'll find out.
It's never worth it.
So never worth it. Although Diaz will tell you, Ron Hall, butt buddies for life. So. So he's got Vinny. I think if anyone can navigate the offensive line issues, it's going to be Ward with Vinny. He's got Gil for to run the ball, Hayward for blocking, and Drew Hill to chuck the ball too. And obviously the hidden stats around Hall. So, it's just going to be how much is he running for his life on offense. I don't think he's going to be running the ball very well, even with Hayward in there, just because the rest of the line is going to break down. But that's something to watch. And then on D, he doesn't have. He has the quasi jumbo with. He's got the Raiders defensive line, which will plow through lines for people, and then Pat Swilling, which I believe is a 63. So he basically has 63 and 69 on 4 of the 5 spots on the offensive line. So that's good to know. Plus, he could man Swilling if he wanted to, besides manning Townsend or Long and nickel, and then on the secondary, Carl Lee can be the guy he uses there. So what do you think?
I thought he maybe with foresight hate drafted the Raiders defensive line so that someone else in the division couldn't use it against his terrible Tampa Bay offensive line. So that's at least one less defensive line he'll have to face because he has it himself. But Kennard was a nice bonus drone that came along with Drew Hill pick as well. So same situation though with Rico's team. Vinny and Drew Hill, can you get that timing down with that? And is that going to be his style to go ahead and chuck it to him and or more of the scrambling things that line's going to break down against a lot of teams. So it'll be interesting to see. And no real running game to speak of, so can you kind of get around that piece too?
Good point. All right, moving on down the list. Minnesota.
Yeah.
Gats corrected us. For me on a pod one time when Gats was on, it's not. I've been calling him Zur. I guess he's saying it's Zur, Zier?
It's Ruiz. It's backwards, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea. So anyway, so this is a typical Zier team. Basically, you got your 44-44 guy. He has multiple. I mean, I don't understand the whole Buford McGee thing and Herschel Walker thing. It doesn't make any. And then with Keith McKellar and Tony Page, like, who's sitting? So basically, that's it. You just have and then you and I talked about, Eric, why did he take Willie Anderson instead of who was the other guy?
Ernest Givens,
who came with Dishman. Like he purposely took Willie Anderson instead of Givens when they have exactly the same stats. I think actually Givens has better ball control.
Right, and plus just a better drone with Dishman.
So that was head scratching as well. He's got the very capable Bills offensive line, and on D,
the 1990 Bills offensive line, not the one that's going to play tomorrow.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah,
we are the Bills offensive line now. The Bills now, and maybe in this, as I already said on this ROM, are the worst team in football. So on D, this is where it gets a little hairy. He's got his stud DB, but he only has one. He's got Jerry Holmes, who's not very good. He's got Andre Waters, who's the worst DB in the game. Which
and Newman instead of what could have been Dishman, right?
So wait, I thought Waters came with Barnett. That's right. It was last season he came with Byers. Okay, so basically he's going to be manning Bird a lot and maybe Offerdell, but that's it. Like that's really all he's got here. I think that we'll see. We'll see if he can make it work. Is the basic gist. It's a standard Zier team. Except, maybe a couple extra pieces on offense.
Well, I think if Bird's ever covering someone short that's open, you got to take a shot against those DBs.
Oh, absolutely.
Jerry Holmes has 50, but everyone else is just terrible.
Yeah,
so.
I agree with you there. I definitely I agree with you there. I probably would not put Waters on the same side as Bird.
Can't.
Which he did, actually, if you look at his alignment. I don't think he redid his alignment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have Bird and Waters on the same side because if you're manning Bird, Waters is the only one covering that side. I would definitely put Waters on the side with Holmes.
You put Holmes at DB1 and Bird at DB3 probably. Yeah.
But anyway, okay. Going on down to Tampa Bay, our good friend Big Red. He's got QB Bills. QB Bills coming off a great season with I think he was on Hugh Millen's team. So we got QB Bills. We've got Kevin Mack for blocking, Bentley, which that's fine. Richard Johnson, which is great with QB Bills. Not sure. He doesn't have a deep threat. Maybe Bentley a little bit. That you can chuck the ball to. That's my concern is his speed. I mean, Urban's fast, but he doesn't have high PC or high reception, so that's a little concerning there. But other than that, he can kind of make it work. It's just, as I've always told everyone who listen, when you go all in and take a QB like QB Bills, you got to get a fast, high reception guy to pair with him, or else what are you doing? I've said that all along. Maybe except if you have Moon, like what Odell did with Moon a little bit with his, JJ offense he ran. But anyway, moving on. On D, the Derek Thomas show, great. And then it's basically William White, and that's pretty much it. So it's just Derek Thomas or William White. Big problem with Derek Thomas running him in the nickel is he's only got 19 interceptions. So even though he's fast as hell, playing good QBs, he's going to get eaten up. So this defense, the secondary actually drones aren't that bad. So I'm okay with it, but I don't know. It's gonna be if he can get stops. If they run at Derek, can he man William White enough, or what's going to happen there?
Well, he drafted Derek Thomas pretty high. He's got to feature him. It looks like currently has him at LB1. Maybe block some extra points and field goal attempts could make some difference as well. But then if you put an LB1, you don't have anyone at LB4. So how do you stop some of those tougher runs that LB4 spot's so critical for? So only really two guys to use. Horton's borderline if he can play conditions, but it's not a ton of options. So it'll be interesting. But overall, I like Jeb. He's a good guy. I hope he does well.
Yeah. So my predictions for this division are,
some good QBs here.
Yeah, I gotta go with War. War is in the has paced this division. I'm gonna go with War Machine winning the division, and I'm probably gonna go. I can't go with Rico with no defense.
I can. He's got Joe Montana. I don't know. I like.
All right.
It could be. It's going to be close between War and Rico. I think that's how I kind of see it breaking down. So,
what do you think Zer's going to do?
It's hard to tell with that team. I think he'll be in the mix too, but I think clearly those. I mean, I don't know. Rico's got Joe Montana.
I know, but
and Stephon Page. That's all he needs.
Yeah, we'll see.
The offense will be tough.
We'll see what happens. Okay, we can kind of finalize our picks too when we're done with the conference. Going to the NFC East, on to Barletti. He took Dan Marino. I've had Marino one season. I'm going to tell you, he's just not for me. He's really a grinder. You got to really grind with him, and it just gets boring. Johnny Johnson is running back. He's got Haywood Jeffries. Kind of wish he got someone faster to take advantage of Marino's passing speed, but what are you going to do? He has Hester on the other side. Hopefully he somehow gets a way to get BB in there, maybe to use his speed as well. On to the defense. Defense is kind of a problem. Basically, his only manable guy is Everson Walls. You could potentially man Colin, I guess, if you need to, but he's not lurchable. So literally, I mean, to me, it's just Everson Walls or bust. I mean, what do you see?
Well, McDowell's a borderline guy.
Well, I think Jackson is too, isn't he? Or maybe not.
He's a little bit slower. But
yeah, you're right. So McDowell's the borderline guy.
No, he's
not. Actually, he's not. So it's literally the Everson Walls show.
You're right. Yeah, and Colin's at that LB3, which is a good spot for him. His fastest linebacker he's got, so best chance for sacks. But yeah, that's bare bones. I mean, I like Everson Walls, but he's just barely manable speed wise. Obviously, has great interceptions, but the offense does look good. I mean, it depends how well he does with Dan Marino. Really, he's going to have to lean on that piece and balance with Johnny Johnson too. But not the most inspiring team that I've seen so far tonight.
No, they made a tough season for Barletti. Going down to the Giants, Dolo. Dolo is looking at this, kind of has a different than usual Dolo team. He's got a good QB. He has a 50 MS running back, which is normal for him. He usually actually is a little bit faster. And he's got some receivers that he can throw to. So in Lofton and Miller. So it's more of a passing team for Dolo, which is unlike him. And then although I am concerned, he really has no hitting power. I mean, the biggest guy he has is Rodney Hampton, maybe Steve Smith, because he's got the Detroit OL and tight ends. On D, Dolo once again took Lawrence Taylor. He has Lawrence Taylor. I think he had him a few seasons ago when we had locked or in full group draft. So it's definitely going to be the Lawrence Taylor show. We kind of saw it when he had Taylor before. I don't see any situation where he's not manning Taylor, which I get, but I mean, he doesn't have anyone else mannable, does he, on this defense? I think maybe Wolford and Smith maybe are the borderline guys. Yeah, borderline. All three of them are borderline.
So they could play conditions in the secondary, but yeah, it's LT. I don't know. In my experience with Dolo, he's most effective on defense when he has an elite DB back there. That's where he can be really hard to handle and can get some really creative stops defensively. I do like the offense if you can flip over to it one more time there. But different for him to not have a 44 guy. So we'll see how he adjusts to Jim Everett's a little higher speed, but also much more top tier there for the
yeah. I would add too that because he has a better passing end than usual, it might open up running lanes for him where people won't set up run so much, even though he runs a lot. True. So even though Rozier is only 50 MS, he might play higher. Right. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, on to Turbo. Turbo has Boomer Esiason, and you got a couple 344 MS running back guys. He's got Ryzen, which I kind of said this. I mean, it's gonna be great for burn routes for Ryzen with him, but I would tend to think that I know while we saw Zer do the back and B thing with Boomer Esiason to I don't know what Drew Hill or whoever he had, but it'd be interesting to see how that works on this team. Plus, it looks like he almost has an embarrassment of riches. Like he's got 344 MS running backs, and he's got Brooks, and he's got Ryzen, and he's got Steve Jordan. So someone's sitting. Plus, he's got Fenner. So is Fenner going to the tight end spot for blocking? And then if that is, you got 244 MS guys sitting. Like, what are we doing?
I think he probably uses Fenner as kick returner because he has the Minnesota offensive line, so he'll have a 50 max speed kick returner with Fenner with actually really a high rushing speed as well. So he'll have a quick returner there. But yeah, you just have to play conditions with the other 44 guys and see how it works out.
Yep. On defense, it's actually it's not terrible. Bill Romanowski is a little slow for being a man-able linebacker, but he's got Bruce Smith on the DL, so that'll help. And then Manny Hendricks is serviceable in the secondary, so it's not a great secondary. Chris Good and Keith Taylor are lacking from the Colts. Case is slow as hell, so I think people are going to be able to move the ball on him, unless he can just pull magic out of his hat with Hendricks and Bruce. But I think that I'm not sure what's going to happen this season.
It's going to come down to Boomer. I mean, I like Esiason, but Boomer's a particular flavor, right? And that he's not your typical go back and chuck it type guy. He's more of a grinder, sniper type, burn route kind of person. So how effective can he be with Boomer? And that will be the key for the season.
Sure. Okay, moving down to Phoenix, the MAC.
Oh, boy.
So I think that Eric has some draft things he wants to talk about here. So before we even go through the team, why don't you talk about your draft stuff?
Well, what did I have here? So QB Browns, great. Like that pick. Makes a lot of sense to me. And then you get James Brooks. So lots of offense. But then you get Andre Reed. Fantastic. So you get one of the few times we saw in this draft with elite quarterback with the top tier wide receiver and Andre Reed. Fantastic. But then you get Altoon. And so you're looking like, okay, this is a lot of offense. And then there's nothing on defense. I don't think there's a single thing. I'll flip over for you here, but I'll try to.
I got it.
But show me who there's no one to use. There's nothing there. I mean, Spielman is borderline. He's still not manable. Ross has 56, I think, input. He's still not man. There's nothing here. How can you completely ignore defense? What kind of draft is this?
Yeah, I would. I tend to agree with you there. Like, I think his defense is beyond lacking, and and I get why he potentially did the Toon and Reed thing, but it just doesn't. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like an embarrassment of riches on defense, fully sacrificing your offense.
Other way around, but yeah.
Or yeah, embarrassment of riches on offense, fully sacrificing your defense.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just like what I've learned over the years is that it's nice to have, a secondary guy to throw to, especially when you have a high PCQB. But you can get that late, whether it be like a Byers or a Jonah Williams or whatever. You don't need two top tier guys,
Hester or something,
to throw to, because you know what's going to happen. You're only going to usually throw to one of them, and who you're going to probably throw to in this situation? Probably Andre Reed.
Exactly.
So it's just, and then James Brooks. People don't realize that you don't need a 56 MS running back when you've got such a good QB, because people, if are probably picking pass against you, so it's inherently just going to open up your running lanes.
Right.
No matter who you have. So
I mean, it's potent looking offense, but I've never seen anyone completely ignore defense. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing.
I will say, big shout out to Emil Harry, Hidden Stats. For those of you who watched my announcing or watched Tundra Bowl or Madison, I believe, or maybe it was not Madison, maybe it was Kumite, saw what Emil Harry did for Josh Holtzbauer. Unbelievable. So shout out to Emil Harry. Big Red, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, going down to Jesus. So Jesus was the thorn in my side in this draft. He 3 or 4 times he picked that pick right before me that I really wanted. The Givens pick was one. The Wilhelm pick was another. The Rippon pick, I think, might have been another. So on and so forth. So I think there was a defender too. But for him, he's got 2 QBs to play conditions with. So he's got Barry Sanders. He's got the blocking. he has an embarrassment of riches on offense. Like, I mean, he could chuck the ball, he can run all over you. It's going to be really interesting when it comes to especially with his tapping ability. How are you going to get stops with him? On defense, you got Leslie O'Neal, and then you've got Tim McDonald, and he's got Chris Dishman in the secondary, who should have been on Zer's team. So it's basically, so basically you got McDonald to man, and you've got O'Neal to man, and D might be a little bit tough depending, but his offense should be the star of the show.
I like that he has a few options in the secondary, and really that Givens Dishman pick was clearly the best one available left in that second round. So he's kind of got value every time, pretty much right before you picked, it seemed like. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah. Whatever, man. Okay. So this division, after seeing all the teams, you talk first. What do you think?
It's hard not to like Jesus' team. I think it's
I was gonna say Jesus.
Well balanced, and it's he's got a lot of value there. He's and obviously skilled player. So I think it's his for the taking, in my opinion.
So then what do you think? Jesus and then Dolo?
Probably Dolo. I mean, he's obviously a very good player. Different type team for him from what I've seen anyway. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I think he's got it right there.
So I've got Jesus, Nas, and War winning the divisions, and I've got the wild card shootout being between Turbo, Dolo,
Prime,
Rico, and Prime, and potentially Player, and maybe Zer, depending. Like that, it's the normal suspects.
Yep.
I would say somewhere in that range. It's gonna be.
I think for the conference, for me, my favorite would probably be Nas. I mean, his team's just really well, I think, built, and he's obviously a talented player. It'd be interesting to see what he does. Use Browner does he use DB2 or something different? But it'd be interesting. But given his talent and his team build, I like him.
Sure. Okay, so that is the whole NFC. How's our time looking?
We're doing all right.
Yeah, we're flying. This is so much better.
Yeah.
Guys, sorry about all the last ones. I mean, we just kind of get so wrapped up into it and just talk a lot about stuff, and then but at some point when we're looking back at our reviews, we're saying the same stuff about the same players, just on a different team. So right. I think it's better to just try to go through it and see what happens. We're gonna do the AFC East, AFC least.
Oh,
the 8-8 AFC East. We're gonna do them last. I was actually showing Eric the 8-8 shit show that was last season, and what was really interesting is that the person who had a negative point differential of I think 68 points, was it?
Yeah,
made the playoffs. And I know it was a tiebreaker, and I mean, more power to Split for getting in because he definitely earned it. But it's just crazy how things like that work out. Okay, going on to Randy Wags. So Randy Wags it's been the same formula for him now for a lot of seasons. Once he started out tapping people, he gets a fast running back. In this case, Butts. He actually has he's got LVP Troy Aikman, who he got as a steal in the 7th round after some people have taken him in the 2nd or 3rd. I know.
Waited.
Well,
finally.
I'm still pissed off no one honored our pact of waiting until the 10th round, but screw all you. So he's got Butts, he's got Aikman, he's got some speed and Mervin Hernandez to stretch the field a tiny bit when it comes to receivers and so on and so forth. And then on D, I think Dolman's big enough and maybe potentially Manable. He's got Clifton, who he's already, I believe, here Tecmo Bow has used Clifton in the nickel before. But it's basically going to be the Stinson and Clifton show on defense. And the only problem is that he doesn't have a linebacker that can stop the run. Potentially, Clifton's a little slow. He's more just basically a 5th defensive back, in my opinion. So I think potentially he might be susceptible to people to getting run on because Stinson's a tiny bit slow too, as we've talked about before. So, but I think his pass defense should be okay. What do you think?
Yeah, again, not the most inspiring team, but given the running ability piece with Butts. As long as he stays healthy early in the games, he should be in all the games. And Stinson does have elite interception ability, of course. So really key on how can he maximize his ability. because I don't see. I mean, obvious passing you might be able to use Clifton, but he's also a little slow to use also. So can he maximize what he's got on defense, which isn't a ton outside of Stinson?
Sure. Okay, going down to Gatz, the perennial favorite for. So Gatz says he loves his team. I think he said that already. He's got Steve DeBerg, who's been very good with before in the past. He's got Keith Byers to throw at one of his wide receiver spots, clearly. Hilliard will carry the load. Maybe he'll play conditions with Carter. Maybe he'll throw Carter at running back 2 and run a 2 running back offense. And then it looks like Rodney Holman is his other receiver.
There's just no speed, right? I mean,
yeah.
You got DeBerg, and so you're like, okay, he's going to back and beat it with somebody, but then he doesn't. I mean, Byers. I mean, he's going to have to go way back.
Yeah, it's going to be. It could be a grind for Gatz this season when it comes to.
It's a great CC target, but it's not like he's going to.
When it comes to moving the ball,
right?
I mean, but if anyone can do it, Gatz can definitely do it. On D, it looks like it's the. He's got Fulcher, so it's the Fulcher show, and then Eric Allen almost seems like a superfluous pick. Wes Hopkins, which I will tell him blue in the face, say he's actually not that bad, and he's always in the JJ block area, plus JJ interception with bad QBs. So I think he's underrated. Seth Joyner, he can man if need be on D, which he could use him in nickel, but I just can't imagine he'd be doing that with Fulcher. So
just a little borderline lurching ability with Seth Joyner, I would worry about, and maybe that's why he had Eric Allen instead to try to help stop some of those runs instead of using a linebacker.
I will say I've seen Gatz personally have only Deion Sanders on defense and go and do pretty well. So I think with Fulcher, he's going to be in great shape, especially when he can blow up run plays. People don't have the right HP. So
for sure,
I think while the receiver speed is a problem potentially, I think if anyone can mitigate that, it's Gatz. Okay, going down to not Tadeo's Big Hawk, who reluctantly agreed to go from the AFC East to the NFC West to try to help balance the tables a little bit once Diaz left. Big Hawk, as far back as I can remember, has been a Jet. They've been on the Jets and in HSTL, maybe in every other league. So to see him not is kind of weird to me. But this is Big Hawk. He's got Whiskey Wade, which he can have him. Whiskey Wade just drives me nuts. Emmett Smith, Riggs for blocking. Also high BC for returns. And then he's got, Stephen the Baker and John Taylor, which that John Taylor pick I thought was great. I actually thought about it when I took Haddix. John Taylor and Waymer is a great, great value pick. So he's got 2 guys he can throw to. Might be embarrassment of riches a tiny bit. I don't know if he necessarily needed Baker. If you need 2 speed guys like that personally. But I didn't look to see what else he could have taken in that spot, but just my 2 cents on that. On D, though, he's got Jacob Green, who he can man. Even in nickel, even though he doesn't have the high interception, he can still run around with him. Pepper Johnson can actually play nickel because he's got 31 interception. He's the manable linebacker. And then on he's got Dave Waymer. So he actually has, I think, Hawk has a great team. I'm a big fan of this team. He's got manable people everywhere. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was a little worried. Why does he have 2 wide receivers like that? But and can he get enough out of both of them? Probably not with Wade Wilson at the helm. But he's got the linebacker he needs. He's got an elite DB. He could have gotten a little bit more on defense instead of the other wide receiver. But either way, it's still a good team. If you move those interchangeable pieces. So I like that. I think definitely he'll be able to do some damage with this.
Great. Moving on down to Game High. So Game High is the Dave Craig show. This is the pick where I don't know how it's not like it's totally egregious, but I don't know how you go Thurman and Cornelius instead of Neil Anderson and Mike Singletary. Like, I understand Cornelius is a tick MS faster, but 75 HP is game changing. So that to me was a huge mistake. Right. Well, when you look at the stat lines, it's like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. To me, it's a big deal. It's a really, really big deal.
Neil Anderson straight up is better than Thurman Thomas just with the extra running speed. He starts a little faster. It's both.
Thurman Thomas has the higher BC, but whatever. Good point. So I would say, and that's the thing too, is one of the problems here now is he has no one to throw to. He's got Dave Craig, but he's got no fast guys. And
he's got Thurman Thomas.
Dave Craig doesn't work with slow guys. I mean, he's got a 44 guy in Mark Jackson, and that's it. And then Irving Fryer's with 31. So it's like, what are we doing? So that's concerning, to be honest. I don't know what's going to happen with Dave Craig. It might be the Mike Piggle show, to be honest with you. He's going to be running a lot. I mean, a lot. And then on defense, Mecklenburg, who is okay, but he's got Bennett. So he's got Mecklenburg probably LB1, Bennett at LB4, which I know he hasn't put in a alignment, I don't think. But this is how I would leave it, honestly. And then Lippett is his manable guy, although he has Atwater, who's got low interception, and McSwain, and Carter, who I don't.
Carter's bad.
So, I mean, his secondary can get thrown on, aside from Lippett. So, if he's manning Lippett, it's just I don't know how he's going to get stops when it comes to playing against people chucking them. If I was playing him, I'd chuck the ball over the place, even with Jack Trudeau.
Yeah, I agree. We can argue that first round pick. And I agree with you. I would have taken the Bears one, but I think it's one of those things where it's just not a well put together team. There's some good players, but it just doesn't. To me, it doesn't really bake up to like a quality team.
And here's my thing: if I'm him, and you have Singletary, and I had Singletary, and I did this. Don't man Singletary, man Lippett, and then Singletary's going to crash through that line more often than not and wreak havoc. Bennett most likely is not. He's not big enough.
Right.
So anyway, last but not least, in this division, Seattle. So Rob backdoored into the first pick because Casual didn't want to keep Eagles again. So Rob got keep Eagles again.
Crazy.
Brew has us rated by far as the best team. Rob's really happy with his team. Obviously, you can't go wrong with Eagles. He's got Haas sauce in there, I guess, in case Eagles gets hurt because he still wants to scramble. I don't know.
You didn't take him, so why not?
I know, right?
We'll get to that, right?
So he's got Kelvin Bryant as his running back, Ward for blocking. He's going to be throwing to Sterling Sharp. And that's pretty much it, but it's QB Eagles, so what does it matter?
Rams O-line's really solid O-line, too.
Yeah. And then on D, Neil Smith, I believe he's manable. Percy Snow is great, can play with a nickel. Lonnie Young show, plus Massey is a great drone. Nate Owens gives him some speed. Murphy's like,
he's 50 and not bad drone.
So basically, I mean, his defense isn't terrible. This is a stronger Eagles team than you usually see, to be honest.
I would agree. Just offensively, he's got enough at running back, right? Because with Eagles and Sterling Sharp, people are going to be picking pass like crazy, and Kelvin Bryant was just going to do work and can play conditions with Stratford as well. So, and the defense is really solid. I like the secondary's balance. You got plenty of speed there. There's nothing missing here. I think it's just a solid team. It's really well constructed.
So the only thing, when looking at this division on paper, this should be Rob's division to win. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm never picking against Gats. It's just never gonna happen. So I'm picking Gats to win the division. I will pick Rob to get the wild card over Denver. But Hawk is there too. I mean, it's tough. Maybe we might get 3 playoff teams out of this division. We'll see.
It's possible. Hawks teams looks pretty good too. I like,
every season you pretty much pencil in Cleveland and Houston in the playoffs. So it's basically will the West get 1 wild cards or 2, and that's the basic gist. So basically, if they're going to get 2 wild cards, you have 4 people trying to get in 2 spots is what it boils down to over there.
Should be good.
So, but going on to the Central. We're starting with Eifersucht. He's got Rodney Pete, which is, I don't know.
It's
Rodney Pete. Bo Jackson, he's probably not going to be throwing with Pete a lot. Icky Woods for blocking. He's got no one to throw to. I wouldn't consider Kelvin Martin or Kane or anyone like that someone to throw to. It's almost, if I almost would never even call pass against this team ever, to be honest with you. Because there's just no one to throw to. But it's Bo Jackson, so there you go. On defense, Tim Harris is good. He's manable. Darryl Green is manable on the secondary, and there you go. So I would just say, can Bo Jackson do it himself? And when you do call pass, is he going to be scrambling a lot? I don't know, or is Pete going to overthrow the ball? Who knows what's going to happen? And then on D, pardon me, it's basically what can he do with Darryl Green, just because I know he's a linebacker guy, and I don't think Harris really fits the mold that he likes. But what do you think?
Well, Harris, hopefully he moves into LB4 to deter some of the better running plays that can do. And yeah, that's, it's all Darrell Green. But the problem is, I like Rodney Peete, but you take away a lot of his scrambling ability when you have no one to stretch the field. You get someone with a fast DB, they can kind of cover anybody going deep and then come up and limit you to a 5-yard scramble when you get caught picking the wrong play. So it's going to be a grindy offense, and hopefully you can do some work with Bo. But it's, again, one of those things where he's missing that other piece on offense. And he didn't really make up for it on defense either. So he missed a few plays.
Sure. Going to Tecmo Bowl, perennial contender. He's got Mark Wilson and Tim Rosenbach to play conditions with. I don't know who he starts. Probably Rosie. But, I mean, it's up to him. Cleveland Gary. So he's tempting fate there with his ball control. He's got Haddix for blocking. Maybe. Ricky Sanders. That Ricky Sanders Mayhew pick was actually a pretty good pick, to be honest.
Really good, like that one.
It's good value there. He's throwing the ball to Mark Carrier and Ricky Sanders. So, I mean, he's got places to throw the ball. And I would just Tecmo Bowl. I'm just used to him having a better running back, to be honest. And he's got the Raiders. And Horton's actually a pretty fast tight end, too, there. So then on D, it's the San Francisco front. I mean, everyone loves this jumbo thing. So he's got the San Francisco front line. He's got Kevin Green, who's also 69 HP, probably LB4. And Taylor, who can play nickel if he wants to. He's got Mayhew. Irvin kind of sucks. Cecil sucks, I believe.
Yep.
Robinson's okay, 56. And so then he's going to be manning Mayhew, maybe Green, maybe Talley. But, I mean, Tecmo Bowl has proved season in and season out what he's capable of. I think this team is fine for him.
He's a really good player, and Mayhew's really all he needs. I like that he has 2 linebackers, and Talley will be a nice option occasionally for him as well. Obviously, a quarterback kind of platoon going on there with condition, which is good to have. A little uninspiring outside of Ricky Sanders there, but didn't need to kind of be the guy. But I think overall, though, it's balanced. He has to be smart with quarterback play, and he will be. So, and smart with Gary and getting out of bounds.
Sure. On to Stall Talk, who just took the league by storm this season with Bo Jackson. A little bit different team this time. Did the Frank Reich and BJ Tolliver thing. He's got Meggett in at running back, obviously. Throwing to Vance Johnson. Okay. And that's pretty much it. I guess he could throw Meggett in wide receiver if he needed to. So, yeah, his only wide receiver to throw to is Vance Johnson. That's kind of interesting. And then on D, Ray Agnew is a great underrated defensive lineman. He's got Greg Lloyd, I'd say for nickel, but he's got Gary Reasons, who he will play nickel. And then he's got Mark Carrier and Isaac Holt and Dennis Smith. He's got an embarrassment of riches on defense. So, obviously, his lacking offense is on defense. So, I mean, it's going to be tough to move the ball on. It's already tough to move the ball on Stall Talk. When he isn't this loaded on defense, I can't imagine how hard it's going to be this season, to be honest with you.
He's such a good defender, and I have a lot of respect for him as a player. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, especially in offense. He'll just grind things out if he needs to. Got a pretty talented running back, so he'll be able to, when people pick and run more often, get some balance there with the passing game. He knows he's got a lot of weapons. But, yeah, that defense, it's just so many options. He's going to be able to stop you in a lot of creative ways, so I like this team for him for sure. Yeah,
it's going to be a grind for him offensively, but it's definitely going to be a grind for everyone else against him. On the Tundra Yeti, he's got Warren Moon, and his only running back that is 44 MS is Lorenzo White. I would probably consider throwing Todd McNair in there instead of doing the 38 MS plays up when you have Warren Moon. He's throwing Anthony Carter, which is great with Moon. He's got Lips, which isn't necessary. Jay Novacek, which also isn't necessary. And Rory Green, which isn't necessary. So he's got a whole lot of not necessary. So, I mean, I don't even see him really running the ball anyway. So I definitely would throw McNair in there. But in any event, so it should be, if he can just throw the ball over the place with Moon, that's great. Moon is my favorite QB aside from QB Eagles in this game. Like, I actually like Moon in his passing speed over Joe Montana and QB Bills. I just have better luck with Moon for whatever reason.
So the low white pick, he got Ray Childress with the low white.
Oh, that's what made sense about it.
But again, instead he could have taken Christian Okoye, a bad drone. I get the value with the linebacker there, but just imagine that impact with Moon and Okoye if he wanted to go that direction.
Yeah, that was his one pick, but he does have Carnell Lake and Reggie Rutledge, I think might be manable. No. So he's just got Carnell Lake, who I think is manable.
Just barely. No.
Yeah, he's just slow enough to be too fast to be too slow, and he's got Childress. And Childress and Hackett are both big, so they're going to cause some problems if you got small guys on the outside, specifically left tackle. So, I mean, he's got some pieces. It's going to be interesting.
It's a play-picking defense. He's going to need to pick some plays to get stops, but people are going to need to be really creative to try to stop the offense, too.
If his offense gets stopped, he's going to be in problem. He's going to be in trouble, in my opinion. So, I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there. I mean, this is basically Vikingmoe and Stahl can duke it out for this division.
I like Stahl's team a little better, to be honest, just in terms of the builds and team strengths to the owner. So
yeah, I'd say Stahl, because of the defense he plays, that's why his team really scares me.
Looks really good.
So I mean, we'll go Stahl, Vikingmoe in this division. I think we both agree on that.
You bet.
All right, on to the AFC East.
This will be fun.
We'll do my team last, so Eric can really let me have it. Starting with the Jets with the new owner Tadeos. He's got Andre Ware and Chris Miller to play conditions with, I believe. Ernest Biner, 81 ball control, nice job. And Johnny Hector to play conditions in with, I guess, as well. Henry Ellard and Robert Clark seems like an embarrassment of riches, to be honest with you, when it comes to your QBs. I don't know why you need them both. But that's fine. I think Robert Clark came with somebody. Nope. And then on defense, he doesn't have a manable linebacker. Collins is sort of, not really. And it's basically the Rod Woodson show.
Yeah.
And so his embarrassment riches on offense is going to carry over to defense, where he's got to get stops. He might be able to get more stops, be more apt to get stops than other people because of his tapping ability. But I mean, it's going to be the Rod Woodson and Rod Woodson only show on this team. And you'd be surprised. I mean, you're not, or don't be surprised if Ware and Miller just overthrow or I'll throw a wide open, Ellard or Clark just because they suck. So
yeah, I think you get Ellard, that's fine, but maybe you get one more piece instead of Robert Clark, and then you're looking at a lot more balanced. Again, it's great having a second option, but you're never going to use them as much. You use one guy the most. If both Ellard and Clark are going deep, you're going to throw it to Ellard. So it's just how it kind of works. I
mean, I see this team, especially with having Ware and especially with his tapping ability, basically he runs 50% of the time with Biner and then passes 50%, but 50% of those passes are scrambles with Ware. So he's only passing 25% of the time. So,
but, I mean, Ellard will stretch the field, so maximize Ware scrambling if they choose to do it that way. I like the offense. There's nothing wrong with it. You just like to have maybe a little help on defense for Woodson.
Sure. Going up to Rockman, he's got John Elway, which I feel like he had Elway last season too. I don't remember. I just feel like this seems like he's running this team back. It seems like he just ran a team like this either last season or the season before. So he's doing the Broncos basically.
Yeah.
Except he's got a little bit slower wide receivers in Webster Slaughter, and he's got Keith Jackson as probably his primary pass catcher. I don't know what he'll do where he's going to put Jackson, either at tight end or whatever. But and screw you, Rob Moore. I won't forget what you did to me against Flash and TTL playoffs. So he's got to be able to move the ball. I'm concerned potentially. Well, I'm not concerned because I have Wayne Haddix, but I can't wait to have Elway try to throw on Wayne Haddix. But I'm concerned when he plays other people because of how slow the receivers are and stuff. Although Jackson's fast enough, what's going to happen if they stack up on a run and Elway's off or whatever? So it's going to be interesting.
Offensive line not great from Philly. I mean, obviously you get Keith Jackson out of it, but could have some problems there.
Yeah, but at least he's got Elway's mobility.
Well, and a fast running back.
So on D, he's got the Tampa Bay defensive line, which isn't good. But he's got Fletcher and Merriweather, which is nice. So you can basically use Merriweather. I think he's a 44 interception, so you can use him as a nickel. And Fletcher can, be your lurcher, although they're not going to break through the line at all. And then he's basically got Eric McMillan is Ben Smith manable, or is that a different?
He is. He's got the high rushing power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ben Smith is manable, but it's probably more McMillan anyway. I can see him at honestly manning Merriweather a lot, to be honest. So that's what I see happening.
It's good. I mean, it's nice that he has two linebackers, one that's 44 inch, and then a couple options of secondary as well. That I mean, it's a solid defense. There's nothing really wrong with it. So it's just going to come down to the offensive line and the whole how well does he use Elway. You got to be careful with that, and then kind of outside of Keith Jackson, not many weapons.
Sure. On to humiliation. Steve Walsh and Rick Strom. So he's playing conditions with both 44-38 guys. Christian Okoye, who should have been on Prime's team. And then he's got Mark Clayton and Willie Gault. I don't know why you need both.
Well, his first pick was the Gault Eddie Anderson pick.
Which is a great pick.
It is, but I thought there were better ones out there. I mean, it's a lot of speed, but also lower int, lower receptions. So I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of it at that spot, but
I mean, going with the receptions though, is it really necessary with the QBs he has?
Maybe not.
So, but I at the time there was probably something better there. Regardless, he's got great speed, and I definitely think having Clayton is superfluous. I don't know what he could have picked instead, but he has no hitting power whatsoever in this team because he has the Houston offensive line. So even with Okoye, no one else in this team can block. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think Birdstein is the highest at 44 HP. On D, basically it's Jerome Brown and Gary Plummer. So I assume one's going to be on either side to wreak havoc on the left and right tackles. Eddie Anderson and Jarvis Williams are both manable in the secondary, and so it's okay. He's got some pieces. I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, if you gave this team to Gats, he'd probably contend for a Super Bowl with it. So I mean, I don't think it's a bad team. What do you think?
Well, that's just it. I mean, his first two picks were wide receiver DB tandem, so he took like Gault's tandem and then the Clayton and Williams tandem as his first two picks, and so that's kind of duplication for your first two picks to not diversify a little more. So it's again one of those things, like you said, a little too much in one spot and not maybe spread out enough. So great value with both picks, but maybe didn't make sense for him.
So he's coming off an 8-8 season where the whole AFC East finished 8-8. It's gonna be interesting to see if he can keep it up. Going up to Indy, which is Spliff Town now. Marmad Town Spliff Stars, not Diaz. Phil Simms, who I actually had a terrible season with when I had him. His fastest running back is Ruben Mays, so it's 44 miles running back. He's got Art Monk and Duper, so Monk can do well for blocking at one of the receiver spots. You kind of wish he had more in the terms of receivers with Sims, but what are you going to do with the 63 PC? What are you going to do? Just wish you had something with a higher reception. And then on D, Vaughn Johnson's his only manable linebacker, and Lewis Oliver's his only manable
Woodruff.
Oh, and Woodruff. So Oliver and Woodruff are basically the same player. Yeah. So Oliver and Woodruff are both manable, I guess, in the secondary. I don't know. What do you think?
Defense is not bad. I like having options on defense, which he has, and then Phil Simms wasn't perfectly meshed, but he's got two pretty good receivers. Can go conditions, can go matchups there a little bit easier depending on who he faces DB wise. So not horribly constructed. I think it's a solid team.
I guess we will we'll see. All right, you can just light me up now. I won't even talk. Say what you want to say. Just do your thing, buddy. I'm just gonna sit here and take it. I'm gonna bend over and take it.
It started so well for you. I mean, I think you just missed on a great value pick in the first round when Jesus took that pick right before you there. But Bailey's fine. So you got yourself a running back, and then things look good. You get Clark. You got Muster, who you like. You got an offensive line with Chicago's, which has that 50 kick returner with Muster. He's going to be a beast on kick returns. And I'll just cut to the chase on offense. And you didn't have to draft both Indy quarterbacks again, right? That was not like a rule or anything.
So here's
no, I'm not done. And you know that Jack Trudeau is worse than every 44-38 quarterback that was available. Yet you took him on purpose, just because you had somehow some success last season.
2 seasons ago. Oh yeah,
2 seasons. Sorry about that. Yeah. So it's head scratching. I know you played the quarterback roulette again and you lost again. So at some point, well, I guess you're gonna just take your medicine and see how it goes. But I forget who you have on defense if you want to flip to it real quick. But I think the big question mark here is what you did at quarterback. You waited a little too long. I know you had this whole pack thing, but I'll give you this. You got Wayne Haddix. I think you'll do great things with Wayne Haddix. You got Little at linebacker. You got Bob Nelson for super drone and other options. So the defense has what it needs. It checks all the boxes for me. That's why things were looking so good until just the most important position at quarterback. And go ahead.
So here's what happened.
This isn't going to make sense,
No, it's not going to make any sense. But here's what happened. So we had the pact, which I just had a pact with myself, and the only person who even responded to it was TechMobo. So then Zur ruins it by starts taking it, and then Randy Wags followed suit and whatever. And then Jesus took the last. I mean, in the 28 picks between my one pick and the next pick, 44 QBs were taken. So I was pissed, and Jesus took the last one.
Right before
me. Again. So I was pissed about that, and I just played a season with 38-44.
The Mark Wilson.
Yeah, Mark Wilson and Mark Rippon with Ryzen, and I passed for 100 yards a game. Could not get Ryzen the ball. Ryzen had like 18 catches all season. I just had a big problem, and I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know why, and it drove me nuts. And so I'm just sitting here, and I'm just like, well, so I don't want to take those guys. So then I'm like, okay, I could go down to Frank, and I could go down to Chris Miller, and then I just kind of. I just got in my head that, you know what, maybe I just need to take Jack Trudeau. Now, I didn't want Jeff George. What happened is the one day I'm not at my desk for my pick, I was going to take Steve Walsh. I was probably going to start Steve Walsh, and I was going to take Jack Trudeau as my backup and whatever. And
instead of Haas or Pagel.
Well, no, Haas and Pagel were gone.
Oh, okay. I think you still had a chance to draft him. You did.
Oh, at one point, sure. And I was going to take Walsh, but then I missed my pick, and Hugh Millen took him. So it's just kind of like, well, so at that point, Jeff George was actually the best QB1 left. So Jeff George was the best he was the best QB1 left. With Jack Trudeau, yes. Instead of taking a 44-38, I took Jack just to take my own medicine or shove it in people's tushes or whatever I did. Maybe I feel like I have some unfinished business. I think that I figured out something when I used him that I could play better with him than I did that season, and some of the problems I had with him I think I've corrected. So I don't know why. Maybe I feel like he's lucky because I made it to the championship game, and I just feel like I don't know. We'll see what happens. So was it stupid? Yes. Should I have figured it out, or should I have gambled on the marks again? Absolutely, I should have, especially Mark Wilson. But I did what I did, and here we are. So hopefully it doesn't bite me in the butt. And if it does, you know what? I haven't won an HSTL season yet. I've been in the league since season 33. So how's that any different than usual? So the closest I ever got was with Jack Trudeau.
I can understand the aesthetics, I suppose, in that notion, but I just it's a pretty darn good looking team if you just don't look at the quarterback. It looks pretty good. I think there was a time I think you took a drone, the Tampa Bay drone DB, where you could have taken a decent quarterback with at least 44 PC and or someone with some like one of those the Pagel or Haas with some speed at least, so you can scramble. It just could have added a little bit more edge to the offense. I think the defense will be fine, and obviously you're going to depend on how much damage you can do with Haddix. So hopefully that's enough to turn things around. And I guess if Jack can recapture the magic, all the more power to you. But we'll see. If you prove it twice, I mean, fool me once kind of a thing, but we'll see. It'd be remarkable if you can repeat your success with Jack Trudeau and his buddy Jeff. So more power to you. Happy to see it happen. Good luck with that.
So with all that being said, we got to pick this division.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? It's going to be tough going against Tadeos just because he just won a loaded AFC West last season.
Yeah, he's a good player too. I think he's probably got one of the better built teams in this division as well. That would probably be my pick.
So I'm probably going to say Tadeos winning the division. I'm going to say both, Cleveland and Houston. I'm going to say Stahl winning the Central and Tecmo making it in. And I'm going to say that we're going to get 2 wild cards out of the West. Gats will win the division. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say Randy Wags and Rob. I'm going to leave Hawk out of it. I like Hawk's team a lot. I really do. But he's got some tough competition over there.
It is tough. It's a lower division. I think there's some really well-constructed teams. I think Rob's is really that's going to be tough to stop. So if he can play up to his team's potential, he probably, if he didn't have Gats in the division, be the favorite in the division. Hawk's a good player and he's got a good team too. So they're just going to beat up on each other. They might not get the wild cards. They might beat up on each other too much.
Who are they playing this season? Let me look real quick on.
I think out of that conference, it's a lot of times foolish to bet against Gats. I'm not a huge fan of his team. I like that he has Fulcher on defense. That's going to be really tough. Maybe you can make up for lacking some speed at receiver on offense that way. So maybe it's Gats, but I do like Stahl's team quite a bit.
Key point, interesting, because of how good we think the NFC West is, the AFC West is playing the NFC West this season. So I think both those divisions this season, in a matter of team construction, are loaded.
Yep.
And I think there's going to be some heavyweight battles, and maybe they'll beat up on each other and help other people get the back door into the playoffs.
I would agree. It's definitely a possibility. All the more reason why both Houston and Cleveland will probably make it in there. But I do like Stahl's team quite a bit. I think he could definitely push Gats for that.
So do we want to – I don't think we need to pick playoff picks because we can just do that later in the season.
Sure.
We have officially done this. How far in are we? We're only an hour in?
Hour and a half.
Hour and 13 minutes.
Oh, look at this.
So what are we going like from 3 hours down to an hour and 13? What did we change? I don't remember.
Well, we're in person.
That helps, I think.
I think it's a big difference.
I think it does.
Yeah.
I think we should just do it in person every time.
Right, good idea.
So
I'll go to New York next time.
So since we have time, we have time, right?
Sure.
I think we need to expand a little bit here.
Oh boy.
And talk about some other stuff. First things first, I want to talk about do we need to talk about next season's draft and the format?
We could. It could be fun.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about next season's draft. I got to see if I can get it up on the screen for you guys. Give me 1 second here. So while we're talking about this, so basically we're doing the same format pretty much one more time, except this time we're doing running back paired with wide receiver. So it's RB1 and wide receiver 4 and so on and so forth. And it's LB1 with DB4 and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to get the doc up here for you and get off the, bless you.
Thank you.
There we go. And there we go. So basically, we're just going to go through some tandems here once this loads.
Well, obviously the ones that come to mind are the Raiders tandems.
Yep. So we're just going to kind of go through real quick. Some quick, serious tandems here. Mike Rosier and Sean Collins, the good value tandem. That's not super. And then going down the line, that's kind of it.
There's,
Get until you get to the Raiders.
I mean, Mel Gray with Clark is nice value and probably a little better than the Atlanta one.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. And then you get down to it's got to be the Raiders, right? Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Going down, don't see anything. Don't see anything. I mean, Fennerty and Eric Martin's okay. That's a good value pick, I suppose.
There's not a ton of steals here, but I mean, until you get to the Raiders, and that's just with the speed they have at receiver.
Buford McGee and Henry Ellard and Gaston Green and Willie Anderson are both pretty good. But the big steal here is Bo Jackson and Sam Grady, which some people don't like him. And then Marcus Allen and Tim Brown. I think those two are the stars of it. But I'm really excited about this draft because it really is making it like a one person or one pick at a time draft. Oh, we forgot Kelvin Bryant and Gary Clark.
And also Jerry Rice. It comes with Dexter Carter. It's not bad.
Yeah, so basically there's some good value picks. So like Jerry Rice, who would habitually go high anyway, he's getting something added in. But aside from a couple there, it's all one-offs because the drone is not good. It's kind of like we've been trying to do for a long time. So that's it for offense. And this is our format, as everyone knows, for season 48. So then on defense, this is where there's some super stuff, but then it's really...
Not much, though.
But there's not much, correct. So basically, Singletary and Wolford, it's not because they're not both manable. I think we should kind of leave this to two manable guys. James Francis and David Falter, I think, is a pretty good one. I know Francis isn't lurchable, but he's still huge and fast enough to man, potentially.
Yep.
Going down the list.
It's Houston. That's the one.
Kofor and William White.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
That's actually really good because two manable guys, two pretty much, average guys, nickel, whatever. But Houston, Ray Childress and Dick.
That's awesome.
That is the tandem, I think, in this whole draft. I think it
should be the number two.
Both sides of the ball. If I am picking second, this is my pick. Is Richard Johnson and Ray Childress. Maybe that's why I took Jack Trudeau. Maybe I knew we were doing this.
You're throwing it for that tandem, I see. Smart, good force. That's playing ahead.
Right. Kind of going down the list. Merriweather and Browner is a pretty good value pick.
Pretty good too. I like that one quite a bit.
And then Lawrence Taylor and Greg Jackson, and not really.
It's decent.
Carl Banks and Everson Walls is the better one there.
Yeah.
Clifton, no, not Clifton. Bird and McMillan. That's also a very good one. Joyner and Eric Allen is a good one. Ken Harvey and Ted McDonald is like your lower end, okay.
Lloyd and Lake is not too bad.
Yep. Lloyd and Lake is not bad at all.
Green and Humphreys drone, but it's not bad for Rams.
And that's pretty much Romanowski and Waymer is okay too. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So that's it for this. But here's the next thing that I really want to talk about. Next season, we are doing the first round of the draft live. I'm going to live broadcast it, and we're going to do 5-minute pick slots, and everyone's going to pick live. And that's what's going to happen. And so if you can't make it, because I know it's going to be tough to get 28 people available at one time, if you can't make it for the draft, then you need to appoint somebody because there's no exceptions to this. So just give everyone fair warning now, and I'll post about it. I kind of have already. Next season, the first round of the draft, there's no rolling, there's no whatever. One night, we're going to run 5-minute slots. It's going to take, what is that? 28 picks, 100. That's 140 minutes. 2 hours and 20 minutes to go through the first round of the draft. It's going to be a live broadcast. We're going to have people on the pod after they pick if they want. We'll have that room open in Discord so we can talk about picks and what have you. Maybe we can come up with like a little, like the whole ESPN sound that happens when someone makes a pick and the commissioner goes up. The ding, 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 whatever.
You're like a fantasy draft.
So I'm really excited about this. I wanted to do it this season. I totally forgot. There's some people that I'd really like on this with me, and I'll approach you guys afterwards. But just kind of wanted to talk about that. And and yeah, that's pretty much all I have. That so I'm excited about it. I hope everyone else is excited about it. And then after season 48's draft format, I think we're finally going to go back to a traditional format where we'll go probably pay some homage to Grip Smoke and do some running backs 1 or 2, wide receiver 1 or 2, and then backups and so on and so forth. With then some defensive, tandems like 1 and 4 and 2 and 3 or what have you. So
I think this next format really lends itself to the top 10 in the draft will have a bit of an advantage when you consider the top 5 or maybe 4 quarterbacks, and then those 5 tandems we mentioned, to the 2 Raider ones on offense, and then the ones on defense with Fulcher and obviously the Houston one and the Minnesota one. So, but I think that helps those bottom 10 teams that are at the top of the draft. After that, it's almost you're getting one player a pop. There's not a lot of.
Yeah, I definitely think being at the end of this next coming draft is probably worse, but maybe not, just because it's basically gonna be a one-off. I think the rounds are gonna matter later than they do now because it's not gonna be as dried up, which is nice.
That's true.
So I'm pretty much I think I'm done. Do you have anything you want to talk about, buddy?
I'm good. Miss you guys. I don't know how buried I am on the waiting list, but I know it's a robust waiting list.
We have we officially have 22 or 23 people on the waiting list. So it's awesome. I think it's an HSTL record maybe. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully the playoffs will get done this week so we can start our next season on Friday. So dude, thanks for having me in Minnesota. We're going to the Bills game tomorrow.
Vikings game tomorrow.
They're gonna get crushed. But it's okay. If you guys don't know, I'm traveling to every Bills away game this year, so it's gonna be an interesting next couple months here. But that's pretty much all I have.
You just really like pain, don't you?
I know Jack Trudeau.
That and Jack Trudeau.
Jack Trudeau traveling to see the Bills. I'm a glutton for punishment, clearly. But that's all I got, guys. So I don't know when we're gonna pod again. But until next time, dude. Thank you, and
thank you.
We will definitely talk soon.